What's up, my comic comrades? Absolute Batman issue 7 has just dropped, and it introduces us to the absolute version of Mr. Freeze. And let me tell you, he is terrifying, and the origin we get for him is pretty damn cool. So let's get into it and see what this version of Freeze is all about. And as a reminder, if you dig what we do here on Variant, we'd appreciate you showing some love by hitting the like button and dropping a comment down below. Both of those things go a miracle mile to help with the YouTube algorithm. We also hear that it offsets the lifespan lost from eating hot dogs. You know, that mystery meat. At least that's what we saw on TikTok, and TikTok is never wrong. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, we hope to earn a spot in your regular lineup. Okay, so Absolute Batman issue 7 starts off in Tanzania at a moment in the past, and we see a father and son driving in a Jeep as the father tells the son, "To the land of ice we go." Exciting, right? Not much further now. The boy says, "We can't stay down here a little longer, Papa? There's so much to see." The dad responds, "There's even more to see inside the glacier. I know it's hard to believe, but the ice on the mountain holds more life inside than this whole rainforest. You won't believe your eyes, okay, Victor?" Victor, what's wrong? As we see young Victor Freeze's eyes start to bleed. The comic then brings us back to Gotham City's present day, where we see several of Batman's friends, such as Harvey, Ozzy, Edward, and Waylon, all mourning the death of their good friend Matches Malone. They make a memorial for him in Crime Alley and give a speech about how he was the best at playing a matchbook game when they were younger, and whoever won that matchbook game got to choose what kid had to do the dare, like steal magazines or buy a fake ID, so on and so forth. Harvey even goes on to say the funny thing about Mitchell Matches Malone, though, was the kid always chose himself for the dare, always stuck out his own neck. That's who he was. Waylon then asks, "Anyone know how he was doing recently?" Edward says, "I heard he was on the up and up after his stint at Blackgate." Ozzy responds, "Yeah, he was always on the up and up until he was on the down and down." Waylon then asks, "So who saw him last then?" Bruce arrives saying, "I did. I was the last person to see him." We're then taken to 1 week ago as we get captions from Bruce saying, "Batman Combat Journal, April 19th. This city feels strange. The streets look less familiar every day. For the past month, ever since the Blackgate incident, this city has been under martial law too, to ensure people's safety from threats like the Batman. Mayor Hill has issued a 10 p.m. curfew. There are police on every corner, outfitted with fancy new gear. Even the weather feels dangerous. A freak snowstorm predicted. Pennyworth called, said I should lie low until he's back. Go to work." But there is no work. Lucius says all city construction projects have been halted. Something is happening. I can feel it. Like this is all part of some bigger campaign. Something too big to see from the ground. Whatever it is, though, I can't shake the feeling it all comes back to that place. Arkham. The massive black site they're building right off the coast of Gotham. The crew building is private, some company called JK. I have to get on that crew. I will, which is why I'm headed to the Elliott building at 5 in the morning meeting Matches Malone. As Matches walks up saying, "Bruce, is that really you?" Internal monologue from Bruce says, "Last the guys heard, he was into running ID scams high-end. Barcodes, laser engraved. My hope was that he can get me work papers to get on that Arkham crew. When I asked him 2 weeks ago, he said he'd get right on it. Then nothing until this morning when he said it was urgent." Bruce puts out his hand saying, "Matches, how are you?" Matches grabs it saying, "Walk with me, buddy," as Bruce's internal monologue says he's nervous, spooked about being followed. With the cops everywhere, I couldn't risk bringing gear. If there's a fight, all I have is the cast. Pennyworth insisted on it being medical and medical only, but he then left town, and I did my own engineering, telling us that Bruce's cast is tricked out with gadgets. Bruce then asks, "You okay, Matches?" He replies, "What? Of course, yeah, I'm great. And yes, I got the work papers, but I did you one better." Bruce is all like, "You didn't." Matches looks at him saying, "But I did. I spent the last week on their crew inside the place." Bruce asks, "Why would you do that?" Matches just tells him, "You know me, Bruce. It's just how I do." Bruce, clearly annoyed, says, "This isn't a game, Matches." Matches is like, "It's fine, man. I mean, it's actually not fine because that place, now, I've been to my share of lockups, nasty ones too, but this Arkham is next level, like beyond. And get this, they're putting people in there already. It's up and running." Bruce says, "What?" And Matches tells him, "Yeah, it's alive. Look, I'm going back in tomorrow and I'll get more, but here, take this. Come on, man, don't be mad at me." Bruce then says, "I'm not mad, it was supposed to be me." Matches then grabs his shoulder saying, "Hey, look at me, Bruce. It's good to see you, man, truly. I miss you. And the guys. Crime Alley for life, right? And I wouldn't have done this if I didn't want to. The truth is, I owe you for..." Bruce asks, "For what?" Matches says, "For..." as he starts sweating profusely, with Bruce looking at him saying, "Matches?" as he sees Matches' pores open up all over his face with blood coming out everywhere. Bruce then says, "Matches," as he basically implodes from the inside out, with Bruce saying no. We're then taken back to the present, where Bruce is telling his friends the story, and they say, "The police report said..." He tells them, "It's wrong. Whoever killed him used some kind of biological weapon. There are some leads in his phone. Clues. I'll get the person who did this. I promise. I just wanted to tell you that. His friends are all like, and that's all you want to tell us? Bruce responds, seriously? Edward replies, Bruce, we thought you were dead, buddy. The last thing any of us heard. Ozzy then interrupts saying, you were diving out of my plane dressed like Nosferatu. Bruce then tells them, I didn't mean to worry you. I have to go. Waylon grabs Bruce saying, no way. You're not going anywhere. We are talking about this here and now. We are talking about Batman. Then on the next page, we see Batman gliding through Gotham as his Batman Combat Journal says, Match's phone didn't have much from Arkham, but what it had was bad. A 4-second video shows hundreds of windowless titanium cells, and in the background, I could hear crying, begging, and screams. At the end of the video was a list. Whether Matches wrote it or found it, I don't know, but it's filled with names. Langstrom, Isley, Strange, Freeze, names of researchers, doctors around the world. The only one with any connection to Gotham is Dr. Victor Freeze, a pioneer of cryotech. He started a company called Vcor, which has an office right here in Midtown. For some reason, it pulls enough power from the grid to light 10 city blocks. I need to get in there, but after curfew, the streets are all heavily patrolled. So with the snowstorm raging, the air seems safest. Police blimps flying blind. All predictions said the storm showed no sign of stopping, but then, as suddenly as it began, it stops, and I'm exposed. As the police and the blimp say, is that? It is. Launch the drones, as Batman goes into a free fall evading the drones. And that's when Pennyworth patches through from London asking Bruce, are you there? I have information. Bruce says, I'm listening. With Pennyworth asking, how's your arm? Are you resting it? Bruce answers, yeah, what did you find out? As he launches projectiles from his modified cast. Pennyworth asks, what's all that bloody noise in there? Bruce tells him, the bloody radio, the information, Pennyworth. Pennyworth says, the case you asked after, it's not a biological weapon or a virus. It's a bacterium, but there's no record of it, not here, not at the WHO. Batman asks, then where did it come from? Pennyworth answers, we don't know. I'll be back in a few days and we could talk. Until then, do 2 things for me, will you? 1, turn down the radio before you go deaf, and take care of yourself, kid. As Batman is evading the police, he asks, is that it? Pennyworth responds, yeah, and since you and I both know you don't have a radio, as Batman says, I'm hanging up now. We're then taken back to Bruce and his friends as they're asking him about Batman, and Bruce tells them, there's nothing left to say about it. I should have kept you apart from this, all of you. Harvey asks, let me ask you something. Was it for Batman when you clerked with me? Waylon adds, and trained with me? Ozzy then says, and slummed it with me? Before Edward finally says, and studied with me. Funny, Bruce. It looks like you did keep us all apart when it comes to Batman. Bruce answers, enough. Look, what happened to Matches, I won't. Waylon says, we all know why Matches was the way he was. Harvey says, Waylon's right, Ozzy. It's time to deal with this. Lay all the cards on the table. As Bruce says, no, it's time for you to get out of my way so I can get back to work. We then see Bruce do exactly that, disguising himself as one of the crew from JK, as captions from him say, the top of the building is wired for surveillance. Hardline remote. So I leave Batman in the pipes. Enter as a nobody, city engineer coming to do a check. After all, what's happening up here that requires so much power? As Bruce enters one of the rooms at this off-site facility, he sees several animals frozen in ice. Then someone from behind says, they're all real if that's what you're wondering. The mammoth is from the Yukon, the tiger from Siberia, and the beetle from Chile. Neat, huh? Hardest part was keeping them intact during transit. Big ice can be pretty volatile when it's disturbed. Bruce answers, I'm sorry, I'm here from the city to... The man interrupts saying, run a check on the power? I'm director of Vcor. No problem at all. Welcome, Mr. And Bruce answers, Pennyworth. The man looks at the ID as captions from Bruce say, it's not as good as Matches could have made, but he's only glancing at it. Bruce tries to make conversation saying, beautiful view up here. The man answers, thank you. And please, look around. If there's anything I could do for you, just say, even if it's just a midnight tour. Dr. Freeze and his wife collected all kinds of wild specimens. Bruce asks, do they still oversee things here then? Victor and Nora Freeze? The man answers, I guess you could say that, yes, as he presses a button that opens up doors, revealing the frozen bodies of Victor and Nora Freeze, as the man says, I'm their son, Victor Jr. And I just gotta add here, their bodies look completely horrifying. And Bruce thinks so too as he looks on in horror as Victor says, I know it might seem extreme, but it's what they wanted given their shared love of ice and the mission here. Bruce asks, what is the mission if you don't mind my asking? In city records, there's almost nothing about what Vcor does. And it's on the next page we get the origin of the Freeze family. Victor says, my parents always believed the ice held wonders, that it existed to preserve good things until the world was ready for them. Ice was the Earth's grace, blue and pure. They funded their research with Vcor where the dying could preserve themselves until cures for their deaths existed. That's what all the power goes to, all the people frozen, waiting to be woken up one day, including my parents. Bruce asks, has anyone actually ever been revived? Victor answers, yes. Me. When I was a boy, I was diagnosed with a rare terminal disorder. Distraught, my parents were convinced the condition would be cured one day, but not in time to save me, so the ice would save me instead. Which goes back to the very beginning of the book where we see young Victor's eyes bleeding. That was the beginning of his disorder. So his father and mother decided to put him on ice to save him. Internal monologue from Bruce says, "Focus, you got him talking now. While he's distracted, look for anything that could help." Bruce says, "Yes, it did save you." Victor replies while touching his frozen mother and father's ice block, "Yes, still they told me it wouldn't hurt. When I woke up, the world would be a better place. But the ice, oh, it's not what they thought." As we see his hands and veins start to turn blue. Bruce says to himself, any link to what happened to Matches? Ancient microorganisms preserved. Maybe the question isn't where the bacterium that killed Matches came from, but when. Telling us the bacterium came from ancient frozen ice. As Victor continues to say, I felt everything, every moment, the pain, oh my God, it ground in slow. The ice isn't grace, it is fury, it is reckoning. Bruce then says to himself, he did this, as Victor finally tells him, the ice births monsters, Mr. Pennyworth, just like me. Now to the land of ice we go. As we see Victor Freeze Jr. turn into a Dr. Manhattan zombie White Walker monster thing as he grabs Bruce by the face, starting to freeze or infect him. And just like that, Absolute Batman issue 7 comes to an end. This was a fantastic read, guys, and such a cool, unique take on Victor Freeze and his family. It's really cool how in this version, it's not Victor Freeze Sr. that becomes Mr. Freeze, but instead his son, who had a terminal illness. Altogether, it makes for this extremely tragic horror take on the character, and it's incredible. Not to mention, with Absolute Freeze's origin fully revealed, issue 8 is just gonna be Batman versus Mr. Freeze, followed by Absolute Bane's introduction in issue 9. In short, this is another out-of-the-park issue by Scott Snyder and team, but what do you guys think? Are you digging it as much as we are? Let us know in the comments, and other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.